Hi, it's Katrina! From the effects of persistently frigid temperatures on musical instruments to an entire ice age caused by a mountain range, here are 8 wonders and facts of the Ice Age. Number 8. Humans during the Ice Age. Humans have been around for roughly 200,000 years, give or take, and this means that for the majority of our time on Earth, we've endured Ice Age conditions. In fact, humans first evolved during an ice age. The survival of Homo sapiens throughout these lengthy cold periods is a true testament to our resilience. In a world where we use remote starters to warm up our cars during the winter months, then rush to our vehicles as fast as possible, it's hard to imagine that in the absence of modern conveniences, people live through the bitter cold and dark literally 24/7. We weren't hairier or otherwise naturally better insulated than we are now, but we were creative and resourceful, and we found ways to cope with our surroundings. At the time, humans lived in clusters and were hunter-gatherers. To combat the cold, we wore animal skins and furs. The permafrost worked like a natural icebox and was an ideal place for burying meat. When hunting failed, traps sufficed. But people didn't merely drudge through the Ice Age. In fact, we developed significantly throughout it. While many species of megafauna went extinct, humans emerged as the dominant land animal at the end of the last Ice Age. Number 7. Megafauna. During the most recent Ice Age, which began 2.6 million years ago and ended around 11,700 years ago, the Earth was dominated by large creatures known as megafauna. Megafauna are usually defined as animals weighing more than 100 pounds. Many of them went extinct between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago, or at the end of the Ice Age, and scientists are still trying to figure out why. While some experts believe that these species succumbed primarily to human hunters, others blame rapid warming periods known as interstadials. Of course, there are always mixed factors that could have all come together at the same time to cause this extinction. Did you know that before Europeans brought horses to North America, they already existed here? That's right. From 50 million until 11,000 years ago, the continent was home to a population of wild horses. However, at the end of the last Ice Age, these horses died out in North America, but somehow survived in Africa and Eurasia. They were later introduced to the continent in 1493, courtesy of Christopher Columbus's second expedition to the so-called New World. Around 15 million years ago, mastodons entered North America over the Bering Strait land bridge, which no longer exists. Their relative, the mammoth, arrived sometime between 1.2 and 1.7 million years ago. Both of these massive mammals began to disappear between 12,000 and 10,000 years ago. Other species that died out toward the end of the last Ice Age include an unusually long-limbed bear known as the short-faced bear, the dire wolf, which weighed up to 150 pounds and was 25% larger than the average modern-day gray wolf, and the American cheetah, which was bigger than today's cheetah but not faster as it had shorter limbs. Number 6. Mini Ice Ages. Between typical large-scale ice ages, the Earth experiences short cold periods known as mini ice ages. These mini ice ages cause devastation in many forms, including famine and disease resulting from failed crops. But they're not quite as destructive as a full-blown ice age. The most recent Little Ice Age, also known as a Maunder Minimum, began sometime between the 12th and 14th centuries and was at its worst between 1500 and 1850. During that time, the sun was especially inactive and produced fewer sunspots than usual. You may not recall learning this in school, but for hundreds of years, the Northern Hemisphere experienced a cataclysmal cold period. European seas froze regularly and glaciers advanced and crushed villages in mountainous countries such as Switzerland. Iceland's shipping harbors were forced to close due to miles of sea ice extending from the coast, and the island's cereal crops suffered, forcing its inhabitants to move away from a grain-based diet. Meanwhile, Greenland's increasingly harsh winters made it impossible for livestock and crops to survive, and by the early 15th century, many of its Norse colonies had starved and vanished. Even Portugal, a country known today for its typically warm climate, experienced 8 snowstorms one year during the 17th century. The cold climate affected every aspect of day-to-day life, including music. Violin maker Antonio Stradivari made his instruments during this period, and the tone of his violins is said to have been affected by the cold climate, which caused wood to be denser than it would be in a warmer period, which would explain their extremely special sound. In recent years, some popular media outlets have predicted the onset of another mini ice age sometime during the next 15 years. and this has even caused some people not to worry about climate change. According to Professor Valentina Zarkova of Northumbria University, an impending mini ice age would not come with the same complications as the last one. Global temperature records are being continuously exceeded, and there's 40% more CO2 in the air now than there was during the 17th century. Therefore, while a Maunder minimum would slow global warming at best, it certainly would not stop it. Michael J.I. Brown is an associate professor at Monash University who spoke personally with Valentina Zarkova. In a July 2015 article for The Conversation, he outright dismissed the prospect of an upcoming mini ice age, referring to the idea as a cautionary tale of how science should and shouldn't be communicated. So in the end, once again, surprise, surprise, everyone in science is arguing about whether or not there might be another mini ice age coming soon. What do you think? Is winter coming? Number 5. Greenhouse gases can't stop an ice age. In 2009, researchers from Birmingham University determined that at least one ancient ice age had a climate that was rich in carbon dioxide, proving that given the right conditions, greenhouse gases can't prevent the planet from being covered in ice and snow. This happened as a result of the Earth's atmosphere reflecting excessive solar radiation, which could occur in the event of nuclear warfare or other forms of man-made or natural activity, such as industrial or volcanic pollution, causing a layer of dust to surround the planet. The lead investigator of the study, Dr. Ian Fairchild, explained that the effect would be similar to a baked Alaska desert, which is hot on the outside and cold on the inside. He also pointed out that while this phenomenon has occurred naturally in the past, it could happen in the future due to the wrong use of technology. In other words, at the hands of humans. Number 4. But human pollution could. Before you get excited, please remember that pollution is never a good thing. While greenhouse gases can't stop an ice age, human pollution could. Experts are still struggling to understand the relationship between periodic ice ages and climate change, and for now their most solid conclusion is that the latter may prevent the former. In fact, according to researchers from University College London and Cambridge University, the planet is some 600 years overdue for at least a mini ice age, which would start sometime within the next 1,000 years, if atmospheric CO2 levels were lower. But they're not. The researchers identified an era from around 780,000 years ago known as the marine isotope stage 19. During that time, the Earth's astronomical configuration and climate were similar to the present. However, the CO2 trajectories between then and now were rather different, with ours currently being on the rise. From this data, the experts determined that CO2 is a much bigger determinant of an impending ice age, or lack thereof, than insolation, which is defined as the seasonal and latitudinal distribution of solar radiation. Insolation changes a tiny bit over tens of thousands of years and can contribute toward the onset of cooling events, leading to an ice age. Our current insolation is similar to that of the marine isotope stage 19 era, but as I previously stated, our CO2 trajectory is vastly different and may ultimately be the determining factor of our next ice age. Number 3. Louis Agassiz. If it weren't for the Swiss-American biologist and geologist who studied glacial activity for leisure, the scientific community might not know about the planet's past or cycle of ice ages. Louis Agassiz made the first official claim to the concept of ice ages in 1837, when he presented his ideas to the Helvetic Society in Neuchâtel, although some previous work had already been done on the topic. At first, his work was written off and regarded as stupid. But Agassiz remained undeterred and continued his research on ice ages, which, along with supporting evidence, finally helped to turn the tide and gained widespread backing within the scientific community. Agassiz was also responsible for promoting the theory of a mass extinction at the end of the last ice age. He wasn't exactly spot on with his hypotheses. For example, he believed that the transition to an ice age brought the world from a tropical climate to a frozen one in a rather sudden, or at least urgent manner. This was simply not the case. Moreover, Agassiz attributed the extinction of the mammoth and the woolly rhinoceros to the onset of the most recent ice age, when in fact those animals did not die off until the very end of it. Still, Agassiz's ideas helped pave the way for other researchers seeking answers about our planet's past and potential future. We all have to start somewhere, and we all make mistakes. Number 2. The Himalayas may have caused an ice age. The Himalaya Mountains are the world's steepest and highest mountain range. Rising nearly 5 miles into the sky, they are commonly regarded as one of nature's most awe-inspiring landscapes, and rightfully so. They may have also been to blame for the onset of an entire ice age. Sometime between 40 and 50 million years ago, the Asian and Indian land masses collided, and the resulting vast amounts of crunched-up stones created the Himalayas. In the process, fresh stone was exposed to the elements for the first time, and naturally, chemical erosion ensued. Over time, this process depleted significant amounts of CO2 from the atmosphere. Long story short, this caused the planet's climate to cool, which triggered an ice age. This ice age was the last major ice age to occur on Earth, and it appears to have been pretty severe. Icebergs clogged up the planet's oceans, and so much water became solid, sea levels dropped around 400 feet, all thanks to the Himalayas. Number 1. Snowball Earth. The term Snowball Earth refers to our planet being completely or nearly completely covered in ice sheets. It has happened several times, with the most recent instances occurring 635 and 710 million years ago, so not that recently. Linda Soul of Columbia University's Center for Climate Systems Research and NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies explained that in the event of Snowball Earth, life as we know it would not survive. Using global climate models that are usually used to predict the future trajectory of climate change, Soul and her colleagues attempted to modify them to better understand our planet's past. Using these models, the team simulated conditions from the cryogenic period, which lasted from 850 to 635 million years ago. They determined that during that time, the Earth's global temperature may have dropped as low as -12 degrees Celsius. The planet's surface would not have entirely frozen over in this case, leading researchers to hypothesize that a completely frozen Earth may or may not have happened. What they know for sure is that it's come close. One theory posits that if the planet truly froze over entirely, an eternal winter would ensue due to a runaway cooling effect caused by sunlight reflecting off of snow and glaciers, and resulting in a positive feedback loop that would lead to continuously lower temperatures and additional ice cover. Scientists have yet to come up with an explanation for how this hard snowball would ever thaw. Additionally, during the cryogenic period, the oceans only ever experienced small extinctions, rather than the presumably massive extinction that would likely result from the planet being covered in ice. Thanks for watching! Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon! Bye!